All right, give it a sec. Give it another sec. It, I think, is. It's trying something slow. There we go. Huh. There we go. We are live. Thank you, everyone, for your patience on that. So, first thing we talked about was rebooting the computer, and you've got that. If it's an Apple Silicon machine, that's pretty much all you can do if it's an M series chip. If it's on an old Intel machine, you can do a thing and you can just Google it. It's called Reset PMU or SMU, and it's a keyboard combination, or you do some tricks about unplugging things and then hitting the key and then doing it. But then the other thing is there's an old thing that we used to do called Zap the Pram, and zapping the Pram it only works on Intel machines or prior to that, and you hold Command Option P and R for Pram, Command Option PR as soon as you hit the power button, and then you let it reboot 3 times, you hear it, and then that's like a hard reset. So when we talk about hard reset on our iOS devices, a hard reset is on almost all devices, iPhone, iPad, you press and quickly release the volume up, then you immediately press and quickly release volume down, and then you quickly press and hold the button on the right side, the power button. And then the window will come up and say slide to power off. Don't do that. Keep holding that button until you see the Apple logo. And that will do a hard reset, and that will get rid of all the cruft. And it's like, getting lint out of your pocket. And it will make all things magical. I do it personally on my phone at least once a month, but I probably do it now more often. I had an issue where it wasn't doing my dictation. I tried a hard reset, it didn't do it. So that was today. And so I actually went in, you know how you have the little microphone on the keyboard, and I went into dictation and I actually turned dictation off and then turned it back on, and now it works. So the hard reset didn't do it. And I was like talking to it and it wasn't taking my dictation. So I went in, turned dictation off, and turned it on. So little anomalies like that happen all the time. So, and Al, as usual, the link master, Al Trivet, has posted up how to force quit. Now, one thing, instead of force quitting the computer, he did put in there how to force quit apps. And so you can force quit apps from on the Mac, or you can force quit apps on the iOS device. On the iOS device, you just grab it at the bottom, pull up part way, and then swipe them up and away. And also, a lot of people force quit their apps all the time on iOS devices, and you don't need to, nor should you, because force quitting an app causes you to use more battery than just having the app running in the background. So you don't need to do it. The only ones you ever need to do it with is a GPS app, an app that's behaving badly, or Facebook or Messenger, because they use a bunch of energy. And again, if an app misbehaves, force quit it and then fire it back up. So, any questions on forcing quits or doing anything like that before we move along? All right. So before we get into Al's, he always does such a great job with the current news, the rumors, and everything else. Before we get into that, does anybody have any messages from the uh, member announcements or anything like that? Volunteer announcements? Okay, not seeing any. Uh, Al, are you ready?
I think so. Here, I could be here in about 2 seconds here.
Okay.
Scoot some windows around.
So I previewed his keynote today for this, and I'll tell you, he has put a ton of work into it, and the information there is incredible. And I'll tell you, that's the highlight for me of this meeting because it's a lot of great information. All right, Bert is here. Glad to see you, Bert. You were somehow on the wrong link in there, but we got you squared away.
Are you
Okay,
ready?
perfect.
How's it look?
We're seeing your notes.
Oh, Lord. Seeing my notes.
Yeah, so turn off presenter notes in Keynote.
Oh, man, are we going to
It'll
do
be a setting. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, you don't have to quit it to do it or quit the screen share. It has nothing to do with Zoom. That was Keynote presenter notes.
So,
Because we saw you.
are you, what are you seeing now? Okay.
Well, you're not sharing your screen at all. You clicked
Okay.
out.
All righty. All righty here.
So go ahead and share your screen like you did. Great.
Okay.
Perfect. Now hold on. So
Oops.
go
Sorry about that.
display, see, well, no, we can see your presenter notes.
Yeah.
So in Keynote, don't quit anything, but just hang on here. And if you go in Keynote, uh, duh, 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 duh,
Yeah.
duh, duh.
I think I know what I did wrong. Here, I just told it to look at the wrong monitor. Okay. That one's the one I want to share with you guys. There we go. Oops.
That's it. And then well, your screen's reduced for some reason.
Okay.
Try full screen. Oh, wait a minute. You're in some other weird thing. There you go. We got the MacNexus. That's it.
Got the big one? Okay. Sorry about that.
Absolutely.
Uh, Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Apple Tech News segment. Late January and the month of February had a few noteworthy developments for us. Uh, First up, we have another tech birthday to celebrate. This is the 15th anniversary of the Apple iPad, which was originally unveiled by Steve Jobs on January 27th, 2010. The original iPad featured a 9.7-inch LED backlit multi-touch display, Apple's first custom chip, and up to 64 gigabytes of storage. It was designed to bridge the gap between smartphones and laptops, and it offered a new way to browse the web, read ebooks, watch videos, and interact with apps. The iPad has since evolved pretty significantly with various models like the iPad Mini, iPad Air, iPad Pro, as well as accessories for the Apple Pencil and Magic Keyboard. It's become a key product in Apple's lineup with millions of units sold and significant impact on the tablet market. Speaking of Steve Jobs, February 24th would have been his 70th birthday. Tim Cook tweets a remembrance post annually on the anniversary of his birthday and also on his passing. Uh, Also on the coming up on the financial side, on January 30th, Apple announced financial results for the first quarter of 2025, which corresponds to the fourth quarter of 2024. Like, let's take a quick look at the Apple financials for the Q1. For the quarter, Apple posted revenue of $124.3 billion and net quarterly profit of $36.3 billion, or $2.40 per diluted share. Apple set an all-time record during the quarter for total revenue, earnings per share, and services revenue. Total revenue was up 4% year over year, with earnings per share rose by 10%. Services, Mac and iPad revenue figures were all significantly up year over year, while the iPhone and the wearables they saw a small decline. As a point of reference, Ken had pointed out to me that the chart does not go back all the way to the iPhone's initial introduction in 2007. So its ascendancy, it's even more dramatic.
Yeah. So when I saw that, go back one if you could, Al.
Yeah.
So this is Q1 of 2009, and the iPhone was introduced Q1 of 2007. It was introduced, but it wasn't until June 29th or 27th of 2007. So there were no iPhone sales until Q3 of 2007. And and it was interesting if you remember the rollout of that. The phone was AT&T only, and it was a really high price in the beginning. And then, but it was weird, and they had, but the data plan was really good with AT&T, and that's what's really made it. But the amazing thing here is, and of course the yellow that you see in the bottom, so green on the bottom is Mac sales, and what interesting to look at is if you look at that, this is based on revenue, okay? So the company's revenue on Macs have been pretty consistent, and in fact, you don't really see a big halo effect by the iPhone because if you look at Mac sales, they're increased, but they're fairly flat throughout. So the Mac, and that is too because they never really raised the price on those, and sometimes they've dropped the price. And then the yellow insert is iPod sales. And remember, before the iPhone, iPods were very popular, and you see it tapering off. And then what's interesting is this pumpkin colored orange is services. Now, services are iCloud, any of the other services, Apple Music, the iCloud storage, just all kinds of service type things that are included. And you can see, and Steve, or I'm sorry, Tim Cook, when he took over, a few years into it, said, we really services is something because the beauty of services is it's a very high margin item, but it also, it's consistent because it's usually a subscription model. And then the purple is wearable, home, and accessories. Wearable in the early days would have been earpods. And then we went to AirPods. Then we went to AirPods Pro. And then they bought Beats and they went through that. And it wasn't until just recently that a wearable was the Apple Pro Vision display and then the better headphones. And then this also includes home. And the home accessories are all the devices that you can do. And that's one place they're really starting to go. And what I find interesting here is the iPad. And of course, Al just pointed out that the iPad's anniversary was 25 years, well, not 25 years ago,
15.
excuse me, 15 years ago. Um, and that's the red, and you can see it peaks up and down. And what's interesting is the iPads, people seem to refresh them more often than they do their phones. So now, if you look at the blue, the nice blue color here, it should be green because it's all the cash they're making on iPhone sales. And you notice these spikes. Of course, these spikes are always in the. It's pretty much the fourth quarter when they introduce the new phone. It always seems to make things spike, but you can look at the upward trend. I want to tell you just a little trivia story about the iPad. So years ago, a guy was so Apple was looking at doing touch technology and things like that. The original iPod was a spinning. It had a capacitive charge. Well, they had a real wheel that you would go back and forth, but then they went to capacitive discharge. So what happened was they bought a company called Fingerworks, and it was really interesting. And what goes back before that is there was an engineer that brought into Steve essentially a prototype iPad, and it was pretty large, pretty thick, but it was a prototype, and it was just to show how it worked, and it was using the finger like we do now because a stylus was such a hassle because you'd have to go get a stylus and they were you had to press the whole screen. Well, by using your finger with what's called capacitive discharge, because we have a very small amount of electricity in our body, and that is what why you don't have to press your screen, why you just touch it and move your finger and stuff. So he showed him this prototype of an iPad, and he had developed this, well, his team, this interface that was with the fingers, and he's trying to promote making an iPad. Well, Steve looked at that and said, that would make a great phone. And consequently, the iPhone was introduced, uh, what, 3 years, 2 or 3 years before. I'm sorry. Yeah, the iPhone was introduced before the iPad. And the iPad took it just, they waited a while on that because they really wanted to make sure the iPhone, and it was just, and the iPhone, if you remember back, it was not a hit for the first year or so. It took a little while to gain momentum, and everybody was poo-pooing it. Oh, you have to have a physical keyboard and all that. But you know um, uh, Steve Jobs just really, they didn't ever do focus groups because he knew what people wanted before they knew they wanted it. So anyway, Al, I think that chart's wonderful, and I appreciate that. So
Yeah,
great
no
job.
problem. All righty, moving on here. Uh, the Six Colors report card for Apple in 2024 offers a comprehensive review of Apple's performance over the past year. It gathers insights from writers, editors, developers, and podcasters who closely follow Apple. This marks the 10th year that Jason Snell of Six Colors, who is an occasional MacNexus speaker, has presented his survey to a carefully selected group. The participants are prompted with 14 different Apple-related subjects, asked to rate them from 1 to 5, 5 being the best, of course, and optionally provide text commentary per category. The report reveals that while the reputation of Macs and Apple services has significantly improved, the perception of home products and software quality remains average, and developer relations and societal impact have notably declined. Overall, the sentiment towards Apple in 2024 is mixed, indicating that while there have been some notable successes with Macs and services, there are areas where Apple needs to improve, particularly in terms of developer relations and societal impact. The annual review captures the, quote, vibe in the room, unquote, regarding Apple's performance and its evolution over the years. And if you're a nerd and you want to read all 32,000 words of it, you can find it at the Six Colors website. For myself, I find it interesting to hear specifics from those who earn their livelihoods in or near the Apple ecosystem. As a counterpoint to the Six Colors Apple report card on the previous slide, for the 18th year, Apple has been named Fortune's most admired company. The rankings are based on a survey of more than 3,000 company execs across 30 countries. Leaders in all the industries rely more than ever on big tech. And as we've learned from the 27th edition of the world's most admired companies all-star list, these leaders really appreciate the giants that deliver goods and services reliably at scale and without drama. This came from Apple Insider. Sharp Healthcare recently hosted a summit for 300 doctors from 10 countries to discuss the applications of the Apple Vision Pro in surgery. The summit showcased how this spatial computing device is transforming surgical procedures by replacing expensive monitors and improving ergonomics in the operating room. The doctors shared their experience and highlighted the device's ability to overlay real-time information during surgeries, which enhances precision and reduces the need for awkward positions, for awkward postures. This is probably not a product that at $3,500 price point that few of us are going to run out and get, but I think that at some point there's a future. They have to go through all this R&D and just to get to that point where they have something that that's capable and not as expensive that we can wear around and give us some of that capability. So So this 5 days after our last MacNexus general meeting, Apple released iOS 18.3 on January 27th. Here are some of the new features introduced. Um, Apple Intelligence features such as smarter app suggestions and predictive text are now enabled by default during the iPhone setup process. Notification summaries are now denoted by italicized text on the lock screen, making them easier to distinguish from normal notifications. Users can also disable notification summaries directly from the lock screen or notification center. Additionally, Apple has temporarily removed notification summaries for news and entertainment apps due to the false positives it was getting with plans to reinstate the feature in a future update. Visual intelligence can now recognize dates and times from posters or flyers to add events to the calendar. It can also identify a broader range of plants and animals. The Calculator app now includes a feature to repeat calculations, making it easier to perform repetitive tasks. Next, users can quickly access and use Genmoji characters for personalized emoji responses. A dedicated Genmoji icon has been added to the sidebar in the Messages app, allowing you to quickly access Genmoji while chatting. And of course, there were some security updates, some bug fixes, and performance enhancements that were also included. Not long after iOS 18.3 was released, Apple released 18.3.1 on February 10th. The update primarily addressed a critical security vulnerability related to USB restricted mode. USB restricted mode is a security feature on iPhones and iPads that disables data access to the USB port after the device has been locked for more than an hour. This helps protect user data from unauthorized access, and especially from tools that attempt to bypass passcodes. This flaw could potentially allow a physical attack to disable USB restricted mode on a locked device, which could enable unauthorized access to the device. Apple has stated that this vulnerability may have already been exploited in sophisticated attacks against specific individuals, nation states. On February 3rd, Apple, not long after the initial release, Apple re-released iOS 18.3 specifically for the iPhone 11, 11 Pro, and 11 Pro Max. It was addressing some features unique to those models with a new build. The update includes bug fixes such as resolving a character glitch and fixing a keyboard disappearance issue. So if you still have if you have one of those 11 still, Apple's taking care of you. iOS 18.3 introduced support for Starlink satellite connectivity for certain iPhone users, making a significant advance in Apple's satellite communication capabilities. Initially, Apple partnered with Globalstar for its emergency SOS via satellite feature, but now it has expanded to include Starlink, developed by SpaceX and T-Mobile. This new feature allows iPhone to connect to low Earth orbit satellites, providing coverage in areas without traditional cellular service. The integration with Starlink is currently in beta and available to a small number of T-Mobile customers. Users can send text messages via satellite, and future updates will expand functionality to include data and voice calls. This collaboration aims to eliminate mobile dead zones and ensure users stay connected even in the most remote locations. And so on February 19th, Apple introduced the arrival of the iPhone 16e with a 12-minute video. Let's see. Here's a feature quilt of the 16e. Let's take a quick look at what Apple's offering with this model. Display-wise, it's a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display with a resolution of 2532 by 1170 pixels and a 60 hertz refresh rate. The chip will be an A18 featuring a 6-core CPU and a 4-core GPU. The camera will be a 48 megapixel main camera with optical image stabilization, hybrid focus pixels, and a 12 megapixel front camera with time of flight autofocus. And the battery life said to be up to 26 hours of video playback with fast charging and Qi wireless charging support. As far as design, it features aerospace grade aluminum frame with a glass back available in black and white and rated at IP68 for water and dust resistance. As far as connectivity, it has a 5G support with Apple's new custom C1 modem, USB-C port, and Face ID for secure unlocking. The C1 is Apple's first in-house effort to replace Qualcomm's modems, and we'll have more of that in another slide. As far as storage, the storage options are 128, 256, and 512.
No more 64.
No more 64. No. The starting price for the iPhone 16e, $599. Here's the current starting price points for the Apple's 2025 lineup. The 16e is the least expensive model that can use Apple Intelligence. These available to order now for delivery this Friday, February 28th. Look for your UPS. This article from Apple Insider discusses Apple's move to end its reliance on Qualcomm by introducing its first in-house modem chip, the C1, as I was talking about earlier, debuting, of course, on the 16e. This shift is part of Apple's strategy to bring more component development in-house, ensuring tighter hardware integration and offering enhanced capability and user-centric functionalities. The C1 modem integrates closely with Apple's processor chips for efficient network data management and includes features like custom GPS systems and satellite connectivity. The C1 modem's introduction in the iPhone 16 marks a significant step forward towards independence, but it does have limitations. The current version doesn't support millimeter wave 5G. It's a high-speed connectivity standard that Qualcomm does. This means that while C1 modem is a major advance, it may not yet match Qualcomm's performance. So, trial run. Apple just launched a new app on February 4th called Apple Invites. It's available now on the App Store, and one of the best features is deep integration with Apple's iOS app ecosystem. Apple's new Invites app is designed to make event planning and sharing more seamless and engaging. Here are some of its key features. Users can create personalized invitations using photos from their library or curated selection of backgrounds. They can also customize fonts and add event details like date, time, location, and description. Invites also allows users to send invitations via a link and manage RSVPs easily. Guests can RSVP directly through the app or on the web, even if they don't have an Apple device. Event hosts can create shared albums where attendees can contribute photos and videos, helping to preserve memories from the event. For Apple Music subscribers, Invites offers the ability to create collaborative playlists, allowing customers to add their favorite songs to the event soundtrack. Invitations include automatic integration with Apple Maps for directions and Apple Weather for forecast on the event day. The app requires an iCloud Plus subscription to create invitations, but anyone can RSVP regardless of whether you have an Apple account or device. And finally tonight, Boom Supersonics XB-1 test aircraft achieved its first supersonic flight, reaching Mach 1.122, that equates to 750 miles an hour. The historic event was streamed using SpaceX's Starlink satellite internet to chronicle the event, and they needed a camera small enough to not take up much room in the cockpit, while also being powerful enough to provide some stunning images. And that honor went to the iPhone. This marks a pretty significant milestone for Boom Supersonic. The company's long-term goal is to build the return of supersonic airline travel since the Concorde's retirement. All the links generated tonight and more will be distributed in a PDF by Bob White in his normal MacNexus email blast. I will
Go back
post
one slide, please, Al.
that
So
one.
the irony of this, it's called Boom. No, the Boom one. So the
Sorry.
irony of the Boom is they've designed this aircraft so it doesn't create a sonic boom that's audible, because that was one of the big problems with the Concorde. It could only go supersonic over the ocean because people were worried. I mean, the sonic booms can like break plates and do all kinds of stuff like that. So it has to do with the design of the airflow, and I'm sure Dennis Irwin is much more up on this than I am because he's our aviation expert. But it's pretty neat, and feel free to speak up on it if you're still on here, Dennis.
Uh, the XB1,
Yeah, I'm here, Ken, but I really don't have any info on that.
yeah,
Okay. Oh, it's the other Dennis I'm thinking of. Excuse me. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my fault.
yeah. Apparently, this particular one, the XB1, is a subscale designed just to do proof of concept. Uh, it's gonna the boom's it's gonna be called Overture. It's a concept airliner, so so hopefully it. I wish them well. I
Yep.
just there's a as a sidebar. There's a really great Wondery podcast about the evolution and the history of the Concorde and all the tribulations going in. Really, really entertaining podcast. It's a Wondery app, Business Wars, and yep, just come to our site and check us out. Our Facebook page is a great forum for late breaking curated Apple tech news and support. We encourage everyone to come check it out. And back to you, Ken.
Hey,
There's a
there's our old Firefall
yeah,
picture
that's
from when Al and I were there in 2019, I think it was.
yeah. It was
Yep.
I thought I'd bring that out since you just were there and stuff. And that picture, Ken uh, and Ken Henry and Ken Spencer and there's a gift shop there, and they had all this things you could purchase there, and we were all trying on this Smokey the Bear hat, and I took this picture of Ken at that point, and thought it might be appropriate for this picture. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, and actually it's funny, speaking of Yosemite, and I'll bring that up a little bit. I was there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I read about all this turmoil about all the problems they're having in Yosemite because they laid off a bunch of people. Well, there's, I think, 1,100 employees at Yosemite from the National Park Service, and they laid off 12. So, and there was no disruption at all. And, those are the probationary employees. And so, it's, don't believe everything you read. I was there, and most of like the park services are all run by a concessionaire anyway, and everything was fine. It all
The
worked great.
biggest problems will come in the summer when more people come and there aren't services available then. There's a really good article in San Francisco Chronicle about what's to come.
Well, I'm glad that people can forecast the future so well, because they're doing a really bad job on reporting on what is and what has happened. So anyway, let's move on. Um, let me pull my keynote up and I'll share my screen. And okay, there we go. Get rid of that. put this in full view, full screen. And yes, we've started the recording already, so that can go away. Today we're going to talk about iPhone settings. And I'm going to do a few of them, but then I really want to make this be interactive because I want people to, talk about trouble they had or what they want to fix and things like that. So let me go through the slideshow quickly. Al brought up the fact that on a few days ago was the anniversary of Steve Jobs passing, or no, it was his birthday, excuse me, right? So I brought up this thing. I saw this, a guy in Asia did this right when Steve Jobs passed away, and the bite out of the apple using a silhouette of Steve, I just thought was very poignant. So I thought I'd pass that along. All right, before we get into the settings, I want to talk briefly. I was just down there. These are photos. So all but one of the photos I'm going to show you are iPhone photos. These are from my iPhone of Horsetail Falls off of El Capitan. And you can see the waterfall coming down here. And then I've just done some slightly different exposures. And it's really cool. Unfortunately, we had some cloudiness, and actually, it didn't think it was going to happen. This was last Monday, Monday a week ago, rather, and it was really cloudy and overcast, and then it cleared up, and it was right on time, so it was great. But what this is Horsetail Falls. It's a waterfall that only happens in the spring. You can see in the upper left corner, there's a little bit of snow up here. So you have a 40-acre snowfield on the top of El Capitan. And if it's too cold, there's no waterfall because there's no reservoir for this. So what happens is this snow just melts, comes down a little creek that's right there on the flat on the top, and then comes over the rock down here, and then comes here. And then you do have a little bit of a wisp down here, but what happens a lot of times here, you'll have wind, so it disperses. So the setting sun, that was the other thing is, are we going to get clouds that'll block it out west of Yosemite? And luckily we didn't. And so you're able to see the full grandeur of this. And I did not change the color on this at all. Only adjustment I made on this picture from the iPhone is I underexposed it. So I moved that back down a bit. But other than that, this is the color you see. I mean, it's a little more vivid because the camera picks up colors better, but I have not massaged these colors at all. And you can even see up in here, even though these aren't really wet, the rocks are shiny enough that it reflects back the setting sun, more like a mirror would do. But the rest of this is mostly moisture. And then I'll do another picture here. This is how you can see, this is where we're standing. So this is the nose of El Capitan, the top of El Capitan. We're down on South Side, I'm sorry, North Side Drive. And the best part about this, there's a lot of photographers and stuff. But as you can see, people standing in front of you, it doesn't really matter because everybody's got their lenses pointing up. And so this, again, another iPhone photo. And I want to point out this one on the left here. Let me just look and see. Hang on. Yeah, hang on. So these are both iPhone photos. So this is I think this is a 1X photo, and this is 5X because I have the iPhone Pro Max. And it was a little bit later. And then on this one, this again, all I did is adjust the exposure on this after the fact. And then here we had a little cloud turning a little bit pink. And then this one in the middle was not an iPhone photo. Actually, I think all of these were not iPhone photos. These were with my Sony, but I know the one in here it was from my Sony, and I could get in more detail. I could zoom in better. But what's interesting is, and it shows in some of my other photos, it almost looks like lava on this ridge here. And that's just a reflection, and it's usually not from the moisture. So what happened is the one on the left and the right was the next day. and it really never got color. So this is really kind of what you would see. The sun was setting, but there were some clouds blocking the sun, so we didn't get a lot. And then the other thing is you can see a shadow right along here, and that's actually why this only lasts for about 12 or 14 days in February, because as the sun starts going farther and farther north for the summer, the nose of El Capitan right here, the nose creates a shadow because the sun is moved more to the right. So it creates a shadow and it blocks this off after that. And before about February 10th, there's on the other side of the valley, there's a mountain that blocks it from seeing it there. So all these things have to happen, and it's just an incredible experience. And as a young child, I used to see the original firefall, which was hot embers, redwood or bark off the trees that they'd push off of Glacier Point, which they stopped doing that in 1968. And then a photographer, Galen Rowell, um, who studied under Ansel Adams, heard about this from somebody in the park. And so he was lucky enough to capture this. And again, it's between February 10th and about the 24th is the only time the sun's in the right position. Obviously, in the fall, it is in the same position, but the waterfall absolutely does not happen in the fall unless there's a freak rainstorm, because it's just there's no snow at that time. And this is this should be a video. Let's see here. There we go. It might be hard to see, but this was the second night, and it really, this is where it got dark. Or I mean, it didn't show the reflection, but you're able to see the waterfall. So it comes down Horsetail here. You can see that spraying comes and then comes down here. So this is a pretty much a windless night, because what happens is the wind usually goes from left to right, and it will bring the mist and everything over to the right side of this. But this area right in the middle, this diamond shaped thing, doesn't get it's just a void, basically. It's an undercut. So any questions on the firefall before we go into
Great
doing
shot.
settings? Go ahead. Somebody had a question?
Great shots, Ken.
Oh, thanks, Al. That's not right. I wasn't trolling for you to say that twice. I didn't hear what was said. So really, I wasn't. All right, let me look at the phone here. And oh, I got to get out of full screen. And let's do this. Hide others, and let's get QuickTime. Okay. Fantastic. All right. Oh, I wanted to show this. So so right now, one of the best AI is completely free, and it's at x.com, and you just go on here. You can go to grok.com or go to x.com and hit grok. They have the highest, XAI is what runs this. It is the largest computer cluster of any of them. And I'll tell you, I was researching some stuff earlier today, and it's just amazing. So it's really good AI. It's free with a limited number of search inquiries. But I said, hey, build me a slide deck for to show what we need to look on the phone. So we're going to talk about accessibility settings, privacy settings, security settings, performance, and user experience. So I will bring that up as we do it. Now, I've got the phone here. Let me get it unlocked. And is my pink cursor visible?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, good. So the gray gear is your settings. And that's where we're going to work on. And that's where your settings for the phone are. So if we tap that, you start here. And just to kind of give you a layout, because I know it gets a little confusing, they've changed things. So actually, if you click on your name, you get into all your iCloud stuff. If you have people, you're sharing family, iCloud space, anything like that, it's there. Airplane mode. Now, this is the thing, it's essentially a double negative. So to turn all the radios off on your phone, you turn it on. Obviously, your Wi-Fi is there, Bluetooth, cellular, personal hotspot. We won't go into that tonight, but that's if you have an iPad or a MacBook Pro or a MacBook Air and you want to use your cellular connection on that. We are going to go into battery. In fact, while we're here, why don't we go into battery? Well, let's go see if I had. Okay, let me tell you one thing. First, we're going to go into Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi networks. I am currently on, if I go back setting, oh, I'm not connected. Oh, that's weird. It must be getting it through the phone. Anyway, so I'm going to close there. Now, if we go down, and if I'm looking at the little eye here, so you will have a check mark with whatever Wi-Fi you're connected to. But sometimes you go to connect to your Wi-Fi and it just doesn't work. So what you can do in that case is if you come over here and you click the little blue eye, and when you click that, if you've ever joined that network before, it will say, forget this network, and you'll have your password here. And what happens when you say forget this network? In other words, it's the network you normally use. Let's say it's home 123 is your normal network. Well, for some reason, it's just not connecting to home 123. It won't take your password or it just won't connect. You go in here and you say forget this network. And that's only temporary because then what happens is when you go back in here, you go over and you would select that network and then you would enter the password again. Now your password is stored in your passwords app, so it'll automatically fill it in for you. Sometimes, like those of you that on Xfinity, you may have, instead of your regular home network, you may have Xfinity. And unfortunately, your phone connects to that sometimes. And if it does, your printer won't show up and things like that. So that's why you would go to Xfinity and then say, forget this network. And I'll give you another little tip here. Also, you have your password available. So if I tap that, hang on here, it asks me to copy or speak it, and it exposes it. So you can copy and paste it. So that's your Wi-Fi password. All right. Any questions on, I want to do questions as we go through this. So far, any questions on Wi-Fi settings?
Can you show that last thing one more time?
Oh, you want my password, huh?
Yeah.
Which one, on where the password is? Is that what you were asking?
Yeah.
So if I go here and I want to click the I, because if I just click T-Mobile, it'll connect me to it. But in this case, and by the way, this is my T-Mobile home internet. So if I hit the I right there, I'm faced with this screen, and there's not a lot of things on here except I could join this network, which you could have done by just tapping it, or forget this network. Auto join means whenever I get near that location, let's go ahead and make sure I join that next time. And then under password, if you just tap it, it comes up and shows you the password, and you can actually copy it, and then you could plug it in. Low data mode isn't anything you really need to worry about. Any other questions on that screen there, Elaine?
No, thanks. That's helpful.
Ken,
You
this
bet.
might be a question on Wi-Fi. I go to your house. You want to share your Wi-Fi to me. Is this the page where you share Wi-Fi, or in a restaurant? You have the restaurant Wi-Fi and you want to share it with your buddy that's at lunch with you. How do you share Wi-Fi passwords? Or is
Well,
that different area? Different.
no, that's fine. So the way it works is there's an automated thing that works most of the time. So let's say let's say you're at hotel rooms are different. But let's say because sometimes the hotel room, the Wi-Fi is unlocked, but then you have to go through a sign-in screen. But if it's a Wi-Fi that has a padlock on it, to do that, let's just say Randy's over at my house and we were watching the Super Bowl, but he needs to want to make sure he gets his text messages or play his music through my speakers, whatever. If I have my phone unlocked and he clicks on whatever network I'm on, usually on his phone, on my phone, it'll pop up and says, "Oh, do you want to share the Wi-Fi password with Randy?" Well, no, with a phone, excuse me. And then I just say, "Yeah, I share." And then he never has to enter it. And in fact, he doesn't see it. But once it's in on his phone, he can see it from here. Now, I have a unique little thing that I did in my kitchen. Inside the door of one of my cabinets, I have created a QR code. So if somebody comes over and visits my house, they just put their phone up. This is before we had the share thing. They put their phone up to the QR code and it instantly logs them in. So there's just a way to do it. And it's not a big deal, but it was pretty cool.
Talk about the host with the most.
Well, yeah, but I don't get that many visitors, so it's a futility thing. But the share works pretty well, and I use a really simple password on my thing because your Wi-Fi only goes out around at the most 100 feet around your house. So if somebody's trying to poach your internet, you're going to see where they're parked. So. Anyway, I should point out one other thing. You see my iPad mini, I have a cellular iPad mini, so I could connect to it, and that way it's like a hotspot. So if for some reason I didn't want to use my phone, I do that, and that works over Wi-Fi also. So, and it shows you the signal strength. So right now, my iPad is other side of the room, but it shows my battery strength there and the 5G. Now, the reason it shows up there is because they're both signed into my Apple ID. Unless I turned on hotspot on it, other people would not see that. So, any other Wi-Fi question? Oh, and what I do whenever I connect, I go to, on my Mac, I go to speed test, one word, speedtest.net, not .com. And you can do a test there. And actually we'll do one here. I on the phone use from Ookla, it's called Speed Test. And you just tap that. And I think it's using my cellular right now. Yeah. So that's no, it might be, and that's probably using my home internet. Yeah. So that's my T-Mobile home internet. So things to watch here is the ping time. That's how quick the signal is. 240 is my download speed, and then my upload's not great right now. The iPad would be a little better because it has a bigger antenna, and the box itself does. So anyway, that's Ookla, Okla, is the app. And then on the Mac, they have an app, or you can just go to the website speedtest.net. And don't pay any attention to all those ads that say, make your Mac faster or anything like that. All right, back in settings, I'm going to give you a tip. We passed Bluetooth already. On your Bluetooth, if you're having trouble with Bluetooth, you want to use and tap the I again. Let's say the Beats Fits Pro. If you click there, you can say, forget the device, and then you repair it afterwards. I had a lady out here at Sun City. We have an open lab here, and a lady was having CarPlay troubles. She had upgraded to a new phone, didn't work. Honda got on the line with her, couldn't fix it. And what it came down to was I had her forget this device, and that completely took it out of Wi-Fi. And actually, in the CarPlay settings, we forgot it there. And then I told her to delete everything in her car too. She went out to her car. She came back to me with a thumbs up and said it worked. So, but again, it's the eye. If you want to connect, you just tap it, but otherwise the eye and forget the device, because Bluetooth can be spotty. It can get, lose its way. So let's talk cellular before we go to battery.
Before you go on, can I ask a Bluetooth question?
Yeah, go ahead, Barbara.
If I want to, I'm going to be someplace on Friday where I want to actually use my AirPods to listen to a meeting on my phone. Is there anything I have to do besides just put my AirPods in? Will it automatically connect as long as the Bluetooth is on?
Have you used them on your phone before?
No.
Okay, so I suggest you connect them before you go.
Okay.
And generally speaking, and these are iPad Pro or AirPod Pros, AirPods.
They're a few years old, so yeah.
Yeah, but they're AirPods. So generally speaking, you can, if you're near the phone, if you flip open the case, as long as they're fairly new, it should pop up and say, "Oh, do you want to connect your AirPods to it?"
Okay.
And I can see Al's eyes wandering left and right, so he's getting you the AirPods Pro. How to or AirPods general, how to do it, because in some cases you may have to hit the button on the back of the case on the bottom of the hinge.
Okay.
So, but then once you've got them synced, you do nothing, and you can check your battery through the phone with them and everything else. And so, yeah, it's that's the beauty of AirPods themselves, because they have a chip that specially interacts with the iPhone.
Great, thanks.
And you'll enjoy it. It's great. So, most of our phones, including now, they don't even come with real SIM cards. So, they use what's called an eSIM, which is essentially electronic SIM. In other words, it's a virtual SIM card. And most of our phones can support two different ones. So, for instance, I'm on T-Mobile, but when I travel, sometimes in some countries, I want to use a different SIM card for faster local service or even more data than what T-Mobile gives me. T-Mobile gives you unlimited, but it's not super fast. So you can, at the airport, you can do it. I go through a one called HoloFly, and what they do is I get a, however many days I'm going to be there, and I can get just data, not necessarily phone. And then what happens is when you set it up, I've named mine travel, and that way I can say, well, keep my voice line right here as the primary because I want to get any calls. And many times if you get a foreign SIM card, it will be just for data, not voice lines. But you can also get them, and then you could default when you go to make a call. If you're, let's say you're in Austria, well, you're making a local Austrian call, instead of using your home number, go ahead and use the number on your SIM, because then it's a local call. And so you wouldn't be making an international call that way on your voice line. And then when you go to use data, you would use and sometimes, you buy an unlimited data plan or a major data plan, you can switch back and forth between them. And what I find is sometimes they'll use a little different carriers. So if one's not working too well, I can pop on the other one. But the T-Mobile one seems to work because inevitably most of the buses now and the trains have Wi-Fi and the hotels have Wi-Fi. So you do pretty well, but it's still nice when you're out and about when you use cellular to be able to have that ability. So that's the whole thing.
How did you add that one called travel?
Well, so I would, believe it or not, so what happens is, like with them, they'll send you a QR code or a message, and links it to the phone. The setup's super easy. Or you would click add SIM, and then there's some numbers, and sometimes you can use the camera to take a picture of the SIM or a QR code, and then it adds that SIM to it. And think of it this way: we used to have physical SIM cards. So what you're doing now, instead of a physical SIM card, you're taking a picture of it, but it's the same thing. And all it is just using different serial numbers. Does that answer it for you, Elaine?
Um, what QR code did you
Well, no,
photograph?
so if you're going to get a second SIM, you can get Vodafone, or you can get, like I use Holofly. So they will provide a QR code or a link that will actually kind of get you and set it up, and it's super painless.
Is
But
Holofly an
basically,
app?
well, well, you're going to get an email from them. Hola has an app that will do it, but yeah, again, go back to think about it like you're injecting a physical SIM card into it.
Right.
When I do the QR code or the link to enter it into my phone, that's just the same as if I had a physical SIM card. And you have to purchase those from a company in the US. Let's say somebody's visiting the US. They go to T-Mobile, or they go to AT&T, or they go to Verizon, and they purchase a SIM, whether it be an eSIM or a real SIM, and that's what they use while they're here. So it's a service, and it used to be via a SIM card, and now it's just an electronic SIM card.
Yeah, but it's a purchase you make from an entity like Holofly.
Yeah, and many times if you're not going to be there very long, the airports are not always the best for it, but I research it ahead of time, and I find what's usually called what's the best carrier in the area, and I'll go right to one of their booths like that. But and Holofly I like because it's got really reasonable rates in a lot of the countries that I go to. So all I do is I activate it because I already have an account with them, and then I pick. Yeah, and each country has a different plan. So, and also sometimes on trips you're going into, let's say you're doing Europe, you might hit 5 countries, like almost like we go to 5 different states. So,
So you would buy at the airport in the country you just landed in, you would buy it there?
not always. I research it ahead of time to find out what are the best, because just like here, we have 3 main carriers, right? And some are better than others, and some are better in different spots. It's kind of the same thing over there. And then it's different countries. And so basically, if you're in Europe, any of the EU countries, you can roam freely amongst them. And I was in the Eastern Bloc, I was in the Warsaw Pact countries, and they were each of them kind of had their own cell services. So I actually didn't use them because the bus had Wi-Fi. So I waited till I got into Europe itself, or in the EU. But yeah, you would but Holofly will do the different countries, but watch out because some countries' rates are not very good. So, but the major countries, the cellular is cheaper than here. So, all righty, good questions. So going down to battery, we'll finally get there. Well, personal hotspot. So this is where I set my phone up. I get my connection through the cellular network when I'm traveling. If I'm at home and on my Wi-Fi, I don't need to, my iPad and my MacBook Pro can use my Wi-Fi. But if I'm not at home and I'm, somewhere in Santa Cruz, not near any other Wi-Fi, and I want to link my iPad so it has internet, or my MacBook Pro so it has internet, what I do is I turn on personal hotspot, and a lot of times it'll have a big long password. I make it a really simple 8-digit password because nobody can get into it unless I turn it on for them. But if I have my iPad or my MacBook Pro signed into my Apple ID, it will show up and connect automatically. So a Wi-Fi hotspot is what they call tethering or hotspotting, where my phone is getting a signal over the cell tower the data, and this isn't for calls, this is only for data, web surfing, email, etc. So I get it into my phone, and then my phone via Wi-Fi transmits it to my MacBook Pro or my iPad. Roy, you've got a question. Go ahead, because I'm sure I'm muddling this.
Yeah, you have Ken's Wi-Fi. Mine, Apple just put in one of those, garbage
Yeah.
um,
So change it to
passwords.
one,
Do you
2, 3, 4.
recommend changing it or leaving it?
I absolutely recommend changing it. I would not do all of a single digit or 1 through 8. It's highly unlikely that somebody would log into it, but I just do this because it's simple.
Yeah, I mean, it's got
And
all
it's the
these
same,
letters and numbers and it's
Wi-Fi
all,
password I use anywhere, but it has to be at least 8 characters. That's it. And if you're just going to, and then you can turn it off. And so what allow here is if I turn off allow others to join, no one else, they can see my Wi-Fi, but they can't join it, even if they had my password. But your own devices, if you're signed into your Apple ID, will show up and connect, no problem.
Okay.
All right. And then you can do family sharing. And then if you'll notice, there's great directions down here on what to do. Okay. So the battery is next. So the question came up earlier on charging.
I have a question about hotspots.
Okay.
It seems a lot of times I'm on a trip and it will ask me if I want to, instead of asking if I want to join to my phone, it will ask if I want to join to my sister's phone is my first choice. Do you know why that would be?
Yeah, under Wi-Fi?
On
Or it
the
just
personal
pops up?
hotspot.
Does it pop up as a note or as a
Yes.
notification?
Yes, a notification.
That could be because she's in your contacts,
Uh-huh.
or because of your close proximity to her.
So it could be that's a notification, if I actually went into the hotspot setting, it would show my phone to
Well,
connect with.
actually, what you would do is you would go to Wi-Fi,
Okay.
and like in my case, where you can see my Wi-Fi logo up here, you see here it says, "Oh, do I want to connect to my iPhone Pro Max?" And
Okay.
you see the logo is 2 linked chains, basically.
Right.
So that's, if I click that, I'm not going to do it now because we're on Zoom, but it would connect via that. Now, it wouldn't ask me for a password or anything because it's my Apple ID, but
Mhm.
your sister's would show up there. You'd have to click it, and then you would have to get the password, and it will remember the password. And hers is transmitting because she had allow others to join is showing.
Right. But so you think if that happens again and I go to settings and go to Wi-Fi, it would show my phone under personal hotspot. It would show, do I want to connect to my phone or do I want to connect to my sister's phone? And I should just be able to click mine.
Correct. And in this
Okay.
case, like you see here, obviously I can't connect to my, so the one I showed up in the upper right here is my computer
Okay.
saying connect to the phone. And here, this is my phone saying, oh, do you want to connect to the iPad? I noticed it, especially when I was in Yosemite. I'd be going around and I would lose my cellular signal strength, and will pop up and say, oh, you've got an iPad mini nearby. Do you want to connect to it? And,
Okay.
its service wasn't great either, but I could have done that. So it will suggest that for you as long as you have the ask to join clicked.
Okay.
Apple
Thank you,
tries to
Ken.
make it really easy for you to do it, but remember, the other person has to allow it.
Well, I'd rather join my own, than somebody else's. So,
Well, not always. If you have different carriers and she has better reception right there.
yeah, good point. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
good question. All
So
right.
Ken, one more question.
Yeah.
I have not been able to have my iPhone become a hotspot. And I have a new iPhone and I have a new laptop, and I've tried to make them talk to each other in that way, and I've not been able to.
Who's
So
your
you said,
carrier?
I am right now on Consumer Cellular, which I think uses AT&T lines.
Yeah, so Consumer Cellular, which has great customer service and they're quite good, they buy wholesale minutes and data from, I think, two of them or three of them. And it varies. But the problem is your plan may not allow hotspotting.
Okay.
So look for it calling it tethering or hotspotting, and you can see if it's not allowed. Because if you think about it, their rates are very good, and they may even have plans where they allow it. So what you could look for too is you might be able to activate that for a month that you're traveling or something like that, and then deactivate it again.
Okay. Also, you said we have to be signed into our Apple ID.
No, 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 no. The Apple ID just makes it easy to do hotspotting. Otherwise, it should show up there for you. But I recommend you be signed into your Apple ID on all your devices anyway.
Right. Okay, thanks.
You bet.
Another quick question, maybe.
Quick questions lead to long answers, but go ahead.
My Wi-Fi on my computer says that it's weak security, and it's a complicated password. So what would make it weak security?
Well, you think that would be it. Well, another thing it could be, there's a thing called WPA, and it may be a older version of that. And to be honest, if you have a fairly complex password, again, I don't worry about Wi-Fi too much unless you're in a highly dense area where you have a lot of people going by that could possibly do it, because most of us would know if for 2 hours there's a car parked out in front of our house and then they'd have to be able to get into your Wi-Fi. So, who is your internet service on your
Sonic.
home? Sonic, yeah. And did they provide the router, or do you have your own router?
They provided the router.
Okay. So you might contact them, and it may be the security setting, which on Wi-Fi is WPA, and there's WPA2 personal. There's a whole bunch of different settings on that. But to me, if it was on mine, and I've been on those, and it doesn't bother me.
Don't worry about it.
I probably would get it too. So
Okay, thank you.
you bet. Somebody else had their hand up for a second there, and they went away.
Oh, this is Bev. Yeah, I had mine up. I was in there. I think I answered my question. You said there is no reason to have the very complicated iPhone assigned password
On the hotspot.
on the hotspot. So
if you
I
were in
just
China
clicked
or
the,
Russia, I would say yes.
yeah. So I clicked I was wondering about what would happen, how to change it. So I just clicked the X and
Yeah,
put in
I'll show you.
something
Yeah,
simple.
good question. So you go there, and then you just click on that, and now you can see that I can put in whatever I want.
Okay, and
And
then
again, don't do uppercase, lowercase. Make it fairly simple, because you're not going to be broadcasting very often. And in fact, you will get notified if somebody's trying to join your personal hotspot that is not you.
and I don't get any like to connect the instructions on how to connect unless I click on allow others to join. In
You mean
order,
this down here?
yeah, I don't get that unless I have allow others to join on mine. So
Oh,
okay,
yeah, that's right.
okay,
Well,
and
that's just trying to help you there, because if you don't allow others to join, you don't need that information, because with your Apple ID, you should connect automatically. And the other thing is,
okay,
there's this little learn more link right here.
okay, and
Okay.
then maximize compatibility. It seems like one should leave that off by
Just
what it
leave
says.
everything else that if I
Yeah.
didn't talk about it, leave it like it is.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Battery. So they've changed things in 18, which is good. So battery life on your iPhone is a pretty big deal. And the way batteries work is lithium ion batteries, or lithium LFP batteries, lithium ion phosphate, they're based on charge cycles. There's kind of four things that can deplete a battery. One is just the calendar. So in other words, if the battery sits for a long time, yeah, it may not recharge as fully. And what really happens on lithium ion batteries is there's these ions. When you charge the battery, the ions go from the anode to the cathode or vice versa. And then when you discharge it, it goes back the other way. Well, that's called a charge cycle. So if you charge your battery from 20 to 70%, that's essentially a half a charge cycle. If you do it from 0 to 100, that's a charge cycle. So the charge cycles, in other words, the number of times it charges, but again, plugging it in for a second and unplugging it is not a charge cycle. It would be through the range of the battery. Charge cycles, other thing is temperature and then how high you charge the battery. All of those can affect your battery. And we say battery health, what we mean is after a certain amount of time, how much degradation is there in the battery. So Apple's come up with a couple ways to do this. You can have your chart. Now I'm going to go down here to charging. And in charging, to me, it doesn't matter that much because I'm on the Apple upgrade program. So I basically get a new phone every year and turn in my old one and get half credit on it. So, but I'm trying to be a little bit better about it. And what that means, so right now, I pretty much keep mine charged to 80% only. But when I left for Yosemite, I put it all the way up to 100% in case, because I'm usually in my car and back and forth. And, no, actually, it was more important yesterday when I went skiing. I'm away from the car for hours and I'm in bad cell zones. So I made sure I charged to 100%. Then once I was done, when I got home that evening, I moved it so it only charges to 80%. Now, I have a very random schedule. If you have a schedule that is fairly consistent, you can turn on optimized charging. And what will happen is you set it to 100% and turn on optimized charging. And then the iPhone, after a while, it'll learn your pattern. They usually go to, you wake up, you get the phone, you start looking at it, you take it off the charger, then you don't charge it till night, and it will create a good charging pattern for you to try maximize battery life. But again, I think the worst thing you can do is these people that say, well, I want to let my battery run all the way down and then I'm going to charge it up. Well, the problem with that is, as just happened down in LA or happened years ago in Paradise, if your phone isn't fully charged and you have 8 minutes to leave your house, you're screwed because nobody remembers their chargers right away and you're going to be away for a while. So, you know what? Sacrifice a little battery life for the safety and security of having a fully charged iPhone. So, again, the 80% is not too bad. I do that. But if it's something where I'm going to use it, I do it. Then the other one here is clean energy charging. So what that does is if you have a region where you can select clean energy for your charging, it will try to do that. But it's pretty tough to do and really make it work, but it is capable. Roy Chess, and by the way, for instance, my clean energy charging, my phone is charged. Whenever my phone is charged while I'm in my car or at home, I am using what was accumulated by my solar system. So I'm completely green on mine because I produce more electricity than I ever use. So, and I'm lucky on that. I got in when the paybacks were good. Roy Chastain, go ahead with your question.
I'm automatically set at 100. Is other than battery life, is there a reason to be at 80?
Nope.
And if you get a new phone every year, does battery life matter?
No. And so what it is if you get it every year, the worst you would be probably down is to 90%. Now let's explain that. So I'm going to go back one screen and we're going to go to battery health. So battery health. So many people, if you have an iPhone that's 2 or 3 years old, you'll do this and it'll say maximum capacity. Now this 100% has nothing to do with charging your phone to 100%. What this means is if your phone says 85%, let's say, that's probably a 2 or 3 year old phone. So on a 2 or 3 year old phone, and your cycle count will be up in the multiple hundreds. And if it says 85%, that means when you charge the phone to 100%, the battery is only 85% power from what it was. Now that's not strength, that's longevity. So let's just say, I'm going to make it hypothetical. Let's say that when your phone is new and you charge to 100%, your battery is good for 20, let's say 30 hours. Okay. So what that means is you can use it without being charged and it'll go to zero.
Tomorrow afternoon or evening or whatever.
Yeah, mine's at
I got
86%.
tickets.
Oh,
But if I got tickets, I could, sorry.
Yeah. Please mute whoever that is.
So I'm at 86%. That's because I've been running it at 100. Huh?
What's your cycle count?
320.
So your phone's probably 3 years old?
Well, it's a 15, so I don't think it's
Oh no, so
that old.
you're and a half old. So that's exactly right. So in your case, your phone, when you charge it to 100%, it was probably good. We'll just guess 30 hours. Now what happens is you've depleted, you're 15% less than that. So that would be now, if you did 30 hours minus 44.5, you're down to 25 hours about.
Okay, that's about right.
Yeah.
So I should have
that's
gotten a new phone in September.
And what happens is when your battery goes down and your battery starts getting lower, it will say, you know what? Our first job is to make sure this phone works all day long. So what it does is, since it's lowered capacity at 85%, it says, boy, I'm going to slow down the process so that the battery will last longer each day. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how that works. And it slows the whole thing down because the processor working at full speed burns up more energy than working at lower speed.
Okay.
Okay. And cycle count, you can see what it is. And regardless, it's like $79 to replace your battery. So if it an 85% is where you kind of start at. In fact, Apple won't are you still on it? Do you have Apple Care on it still?
Yeah.
At 85%, they might replace your battery for you. I don't know. You'd have to check and report back.
Well, I think I should have gotten a 16 back in September. So
well, no, wait for the 17 now.
Okay.
Because is yours a 15 Pro?
Yeah.
Well, you
Max.
have AI, so yeah. I didn't recommend people go from 15 up unless they're on the upgrade program because the 15 Pro is just about as good as the 16 Pro. So anyway, the other thing you can look at down here is you can look at what's using your battery the most. And so here it says last 24 hours. Here's my cycle, which is really cool. Activity. And then when I go down here, what's using the most? Safari, my podcast app, messages, home and lock screen. But now if I go down and click on last 10 days, it shows me my battery usage and what's been see, I was in Yosemite and I had my camera open a lot. So 26% was there. And I've been using my in my Tesla, checking different things. And so did that. And then my podcast app used 9. So you can see what causes all your battery drain. And
Now I
by the
have
way,
a
so
M, which
that's
I guess
battery
is
usage by
minutes.
app, and then you can click on the right
Okay.
and show activity. How long? So the Tesla was on for 58 hours. Oh, that's because because it was checking the car. So it was so long, but it was very little each time. So
And if it just has a dash, that means like my camera, I thought it'd be up pretty high, but I guess it's telling me I hardly ever use my camera.
well, in comparison to other stuff.
Huh. I've been taking a zillion. Oh, well.
Yeah, but I mean, you fire it up, you take a picture, and you close it.
Yeah,
The reason
right.
mine shows so high is because I had it on my tripod and I had it on the whole time.
Yeah, I
Okay,
see that. Okay.
so that's battery.
Okay, thanks.
We're gonna and oh, guys, I should mention this Saturday I will be doing the longer version of this. So we're going to go into much more detail, but I'm also going to get into using the photo and photo, how to the different settings for the camera and that. I wanted to get the main dirty settings out of the way, and we're going to quickly go over those in the other one. But here's your general one. So this is where a lot of information is. You tap about. This is the first one. That's where you can change the name of your phone if you want. It shows you your iOS version. It shows you the model of the phone, your serial numbers. You can look in here and see if your Apple Care is still active. But these are very instructive here. So this tells you about me. I only have 2 songs in there. Well, I've got Apple Music, so I don't store songs. I got almost 2,000 videos, but I got 103,000 photos. I have 810 applications. The capacity of my phone is a 1 terabyte, and I'm only using about 280 gigabytes of that. Then these other things are just serial numbers. You don't have to worry about them. Sometimes they want to know your EID number. That's for different things. So my phone is not locked to any SIM card. Yours may or may not be locked. This shows me information about my cellular network. Now, I told you I use T-Mobile Home, but this is my cellular. That's T-Mobile, the carrier. And this little number here just means, so the carriers, you've probably seen the screen sometime that says update carrier settings. So updating carrier settings is basically the software that once you're connected to T-Mobile, it puts different things in it, which is nice. It's not like they're snooping or anything. What they're doing is just setting up your phone so things work really well. IMEI, that's your basically your serial number for the phone. And then I have, since the other SIM isn't active, I have the one SIM there. And I'm going to hit back in the upper left. Software updates, obviously, if you tap that, it's going to do it. And I'm up to date at this point, 18.3.1. This is another one, iPhone storage. Now we have iCloud storage and we have iPhone storage. So it takes a minute. It's doing all of its stuff. So this screen is wonderful. So I used to have, because I have my photos on the cloud now, my photos are a very small part of this, the yellow. My messages. Now, your messages, I don't get a lot of videos on my messages, so mine isn't that big. But if you have a bunch of messages, that could be videos that are in the text messages. And the applications here, this is the actual applications itself. And remember, I think I had 800 and something apps. So this shows you different ways you can save space, but obviously I have all this black space. I don't need to save space. There's nothing other than when it gets real close to being too full, there's nothing beneficial about having extra space until it gets way too little left. So I could offload these apps, unused apps. I could offload them, and what that does, and if I hit show all, it'll do more things. But what happens is it'll save you space, and it'll pick apps that you haven't used in a while. So messages and cloud. So I have 35 gigabytes of messages. Text messages take up no room. Photos on text messages take up a little bit of room, and videos take up a lot of room, depending on how long the video is. The other thing here is review large attachments. That's looking at like attachments in messages or in email for big things. The other thing you can do is delete old conversations. This would be in the Messages app. So I could save 24 gigs because I have old messages that are over a year old, and those have photos and videos. Roy, go ahead.
Yeah, I found that Apple Care thing, and mine expires November 26th of 2025. But is that the phone? Is that my new Air? Or what is that?
No, if you were doing it from your phone, it's your phone.
So there's a similar thing in on the MacBook.
Should be, and you should call them and ask them about the battery, or go online and check
Yeah.
when they replace it.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. So these are things like these are older podcasts. I don't use the Apple Podcast map or app much anymore. I use one called Overcast down here. But it's only megabytes. Don't worry about megabytes. So a megabyte, 1,000 megabytes make a gigabyte, and 1,000 gigabytes make a terabyte. So then it shows my other apps that take up room, and they're ordered by size. You can also tap that and say date last used, so you can say, oh yeah, I didn't use that one very long ago. And so there you can see I've used that most recently, but down here, go way down. Oh, I'm going to give you a tip here in a second. There's my 800 apps, and oh, see, now some of these show they're on the cloud, so they're not even sitting on my phone. So let's go to one. Oh, that's weird. It's not showing the date, probably because it wasn't on this. It just came over on this phone. Oh, where are they? It's supposed to have the date on it. Wow. Okay, so how I can scroll all the way to the top, you guys, if I tap my phone kind of right here. Roy, did you have another thing, or I didn't lower your hand?
Oh, no, I found it on my Air, and it's got a different date. Well,
Yeah.
actually, it doesn't give an end date. It just says date of purchase November 22nd, 2024.
Okay, well,
so it's different.
You're not talking about your Air, so
Yeah. I'll lower it.
Oh, I did.
Okay.
Now it's back up. Oh, Rich, go ahead. You're muted.
I see that. My wife's phone says it cannot update because there's not enough storage.
Yeah.
Is this the area where I can clean some of that up?
Yeah, I'll show you that in just a second.
Okay.
So if you look here, this shows that the more recently last used apps. So this was Open Snow I used on February 12th and stuff. So, but the trick is if I tap my screen up here remember if you look at the side, see my scroll bar? So I'm going way down. Okay, you see my scroll bar? Now, if I tap right up here where the time is, look at that. It scrolled all the way to the top. That works on Safari. That works on your mail and everything. Anytime you tap right near the top, it'll scroll you right back to the top. It's like going back to home. Bev, go ahead.
Well, I just lost. If you were doing like I went to a spot. Well, it was like to remove the extra unused apps. If I want to unenable it, does enable mean it's going to do it, or
enable will offload the unused apps. Enabling that will offload it.
How do I reverse it and not ask it to do that?
Don't tap enable.
Oh, so okay.
Didn't it ask? Did you tap it?
Yeah, because I wanted to see,
Didn't
so,
it give you another question after that?
no.
Okay, well,
But maybe it's only if you have, are close to,
nope,
um,
nope. I'm not close at all, and it shows me there. But
yeah.
Roy, your question, or Rich, excuse me, was you can do that in some of these. The other thing you always want to check is, I'll go back to the main settings, go up to your name, go to iCloud, and you want to make sure photo syncing is on. And when
What's
you
the, de-
tap that, you want to make sure it says optimize iPhone storage. What that
what's the
means is,
definition of unused app?
what?
What is the definition of unused app? In other words, how long does it have to be unused before the
I
before the
I
operating
I
system
don't I don't
considered
think,
it's unused?
yeah, I don't know if that's defined or just relative to what you have.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean,
I have a sneaking suspicion that it's something down that road.
well, it might have been, you noticed how on mine there were dates only down to a certain spot and then not after that. But
Right.
the thing is you can always download the app again.
Correct.
It
So, Bev, did
could
you
you
have another
delete?
question or we didn't lower your hand?
Yes, yes, just right where you're at. I missed how to get to this, the photos things to make sure I
So
am on my
go to main settings,
main settings. Yeah, where my name's at top. Yeah, person.
tap on the name at the top, and then you tap on iCloud right here. I went through that pretty quick. I'm sorry. So tap
Mhm.
iCloud, and then you get this screen. I'm not going to
Oh,
worry about
I
private.
okay. Tap on
And
iCloud. Okay.
then this is all your different iCloud things. So I tap, and by the way, that's where your passwords app is now. You can go to, and this is your, like, how many notes I have. I have files in my drive consisting of that. My mail is taking up that. I do not store my messages on the cloud. And then I click photos, and then I first want to make sure optimize is on. So
Okay.
what it's taken is, I have 103,439 photos and almost 2,000 videos. So, and then above that, it says manage storage. And Roy, this would be for you to look at. Well,
Okay.
and obviously you hit, when they changed it, it used to say iCloud Photos up. It's called Sync This Phone now. I'm not going to wait for that to populate. But what I want to show you is when I go to iCloud storage, I have, so my photos on the cloud take up almost a terabyte, right? 975 gigabytes. So now I'm going to go back to see how much that takes up on my phone. So it was almost a terabyte. So I go down here and I go to General, and then I click iPhone storage. And if you'll notice here, that 1 terabyte, this, all of the photos I have take up just under 30 gigabytes of space on my phone. And the way it works is the full size, if you have iPhoto sync on the cloud, it sends the full size of the picture up to the cloud, but then it leaves a smaller version of the picture on my phone to leave for extra space. So we're going to kind of leave it at that, and we can do questions after the raffle if we want. But the other thing is, it does not create more or less iCloud space because your phone is being backed up to the cloud. And if you don't optimize your photos and your photos on your phone are full size, it's going to take up the same amount of space on the cloud by backing up your phone. So you're better off having it go to the cloud and allow more room on your phone, and that works very well. So let's we're going to get rid of this and go to
And
the raffle.
look at the chat, and I found the answer.
Yeah.
What was that?
Look at the chat. I found the answer. It's unbelievable.
Okay.
It's from an Apple engineer.
This is about storage offload app. This will
Unused apps, 12
12
days.
days of inactivity. Yeah, interesting. And you know, hey Bob, that would make sense because my last date, I think when I scrolled down the dates, that's I was surprised that the other things didn't show dates, but it went to like January. Well, no, it was February 12th or something like that.
hmm
12th or 15th, so that makes sense. I'm surprised it's that short, but again, you can always re-download your apps, everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, great job. What we'll do is I want to get to the raffle right away, and then I'll be sticking around for extra questions. So I need some numbers, please. Total number, or how many attendees, Lisa? Or Mary?
Don't count me twice.
Maybe
What's that?
Don't count me
Yeah,
twice.
don't count Al twice. Did we lose her?
Are they muted, maybe?
Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry about
Hi,
that. We
Lisa.
have 40 participants.
I'm sorry, 40?
40.
Okay, thank you. And what's our big number?
Can we see
299.
everybody?
Thank you. What, Al?
Can we see everybody instead of your screen?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you for doing that. Good deal.
Oh,
And by
I'm
the
sorry,
way,
Ken.
this
Ken?
picture behind me, you guys, is Firefall from when Al and I went there. And this orangish glow is actually the snow blowing off one of the ridges. And it got lit up by the orange glow too. It's really, I mean,
Love
it's an event that's just phenomenal.
Ken, I need to revise that number for all members. It is 229.
229. Okay,
229. I can't read tonight, apparently.
that's okay. And we're at 40. So, and as I remember, we do 4 20s, and then we do 2 100s to the audience and 1 to the member for a total of 400.
We do 425s.
I'm sorry, 4 25s.
2
And
100s.
three total 100s, right?
And 3 total 100s, yes.
Got it.
One
So
to the
what
member.
what it is the first, except for the last 100, which goes to even any members that weren't here. So everybody's in the pool for that, and it's actually a different number. And in fact, if you win a prize earlier, you can win that one because it's a whole new drawing. But if you win one of the $25 ones, and then later on you win either another 25 or a 100 in the regular drawing, you have to give one back, and I'll assume which one you want to give back, and we'll redraw that one. So I checked Siri earlier. It was working. My fingers are crossed, and we will go ahead. So I would do a random number generator, and Lisa, just pause a second. I mean, go ahead and look it up, but
Yeah.
I always read the script on it to make sure I didn't say the number wrong, so I didn't
Gotcha.
swear. So here we go. Give me a random number between 1 and 40.
The answer is 21.
And that's good.
And 21 is Joe Ellen Arnold.
Congratulations, Joe Ellen. And I'll send an email out this evening with everybody. So it will come from Amazon. It's not a scam. It's really your gift card. All right, we'll do another here. Give me a random number between 1 and 40.
It's 36.
And that's a good one.
Bob Ress.
Congratulations, Bob. And again, the first 4 here are the $25
Thank
gift
you.
cards. So we have 2 more of those. Give me a
We're not
random
hearing
number
the
between
number.
1 and 40.
It's 10.
And it did it correctly.
Charles Murphy.
Congratulations, Charles. Our last of our 25s.
We're
Give
not
me a
hearing
random
the number.
between 1 and 40.
I'm hearing it.
3. It's good.
3. Barbara Moore.
Fantastic. So now we'll do two more, and these are $100 gift cards, and they're in the same 1 through 40 of the attendees. Give me a random number between 1 and 40.
The answer is 29.
And that works.
And 29 is Lynn Blake.
Congratulations, Lynn. And one last, the general attendee one here. Give me a random number between 1 and 40.
The answer is 23.
And that's okay. I saw the thing.
23, Karen Papa.
Congratulations, Karen. All right. So now we are using our entire membership roster of 229 members, and that's for a $100 gift card. They do not have to be present. Give me a random number between 1 and 229.
It's 48.
Hang on. Yep. So it says 1 through 29.
48 is
48.
Jackie Tabor.
Perfect. All right. Well, don't forget to grab some coffee and cookies on your way out. And
Tip your way.
if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask now. I know I went through a lot, but it's obviously recorded. And then secondly, I'll do a much more expanded one. We'll get into much more settings. And in the meantime, think about your settings and stuff, and you may have questions to ask.
And that's only 3 days away.
Yeah, that's this coming Saturday at 9 a.m.
I have a question, Ken, Chris Dodson.
Yeah, hi, Chris.
Hi, Ken. With the new update, the emails that I get, I'm a little, so they don't seem to match on my phone to my MacBook. And then even just on the MacBook, I have under my Google Mail, it's inbox is one
Yeah, hang on a
category.
sec. I'm going to display my phone for you.
Okay. I'm looking on my MacBook right now.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'll show you on both. Well, I'm going to have, no, I'll do my phone because I don't have to. Well, I'll do my phone first because I don't have to.
Yeah, well, I don't really understand that either.
So if I go to my messages, you know what? Let me put off your question for a second because I don't want Google to take us down if I start showing information.
Okay.
So let's handle some other questions and I'll come back to that because I want to end the recording before I do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So Bert, go ahead.
Hi, Ken. This is the first time I've seen the entire presentation on a tiny iPhone. It took about 20 minutes this evening to find a link. I saw something on, I think Al's recap of the last meeting, and I clicked on that. It says it was invalid. So how do I get the link to see you on Saturday?
Well, I texted it to you.
Just today, right?
Yeah, and that's, yeah. But then the other thing is, if you go to, here, I'll do it on the, here, if we go to MacNexus. So that the first Saturday and the general meeting are always the same.
Right. I just need to get a valid.
So if you go to MacNexus and you go here and you go here to general meeting, are you seeing this?
It's really tiny.
Well, then that's your screen. So you need to go full screen.
Well, I'm in my iPhone. That's why.
Okay. Well, and in there you click on general meeting and then down, if it'll load here.
That's on the right-hand side, correct?
No, it's right. It's, well, on the phone, it might be on your computer share, but just say, it says Zoom link for general meeting.
Okay.
And what happens is you may have gotten the email and there were links to the WITS classes because I looked and it showed on my email that you had logged in, and that's our second Saturday group is WITS, I believe.
Right. I was getting desperate and just clicking at random on anything then, but
Yeah.
I saw a quick text message which was like 2 seconds long, and that was it. And I did not get your text message at all.
Oh,
Bertie, are you getting your blast that I send out all the time?
The email?
Not all the time.
Because the links are there, they don't change.
Oh, I know. Yeah. All
Yeah,
people,
but anyway, you can go to the website and the Zoom link, go under general meeting
general
or
meeting.
first Saturday and it will be there.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Also in the chat, and if you scroll back up to the beginning of the chat, I also posted all 4 meetings. The link, it's all the same, but just
And
the F-
and that chat will be in the email too. Well, no, the chat won't, but anyway.
well, I always post that stuff at when I
Yeah.
compose that PDF at the very end. I put all that stuff up and coming meetings, time, place, and link. So it's if you look at one of the older ones, older PDFs that Bob sends out for any of the meetings,
Right.
it's at the very end, the last page. It has all that information as well.
Yeah, and we've kept those
That's
consistent.
clicked on and it was an invalid number today.
Hmm.
Operator error, I'm sure, but thank you for your help.
All right. And if not, just text me if you're having trouble.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Or me.
Roy, go ahead with your question.
Yeah, on apps. I deleted one by mistake and I'm having trouble getting it back. I put it into search and so it opens up, but
No,
then when
you
I
go to
close it, it vanishes.
Go to the app store and go find the app.
Oh, go back to that. Okay.
Yeah. In the app store, you'll have to re-download it.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
You bet. Bert, was that another question?
No,
Okay, no problem. I got it. All right. So I'm going to end the recording and then I'm going to answer this question about email and what's going on with that. So 1 second here. I'll go to Zoom. Don't need that. I don't want to unshare, but I want to do. Come on, where's live? Oop. More. Record, enable, breakout. Guess I'm gonna pause. Okay, that'll work. Oh no, that's screen sharing. Where is the live? Hang on. Zoom. Stop video. I don't want that. I want to stop live. Gosh, I usually just end the meeting and record, breakout, disable. Well, let me stop sharing and I'll come back to it. There's YouTube.